People may think of Yul Brynner as the picture of an unbreakable star because of his mysterious look, his bald head, and his legendary parts in The King and I and The Ten Commandments. But behind that beautiful appearance is a life full of problems, inner struggles, and stories that haven't been told. Even though Brynner had a great job and a lot of fame, he had to deal with storms from his troubled past, his relationships, and an addiction that almost killed him. Above all, his never-ending battle with lung cancer formed a moving ending to his life. Yul Brynner was a famous movie star, but what made her become a strong supporter of public health, especially the fight against smoking? Come with us as we look into Yul Brynner's deeply emotional and complex life story, including both his great acting roles and his quiet but important personal struggles, in order to learn more about the real man behind the movie star. Childhood Yul Brynner was born in Vladivostok, Russia, on July 11, 1920. This was during a time of major political and social change. It was Yuri Borisovich Brynner that he was born with. He had bloodlines from many different groups, including Swiss, German, Buryat, also called Mongolian, and Roma. Boris Yulievich Brynner, his father, was a skilled mining engineer with big goals, but the country was in the middle of a terrible war, which made things hard for him. Boris used to want to be rich, but his family had to give up those big dreams because of changes in politics. Maruzia Blagovodova, Yul's mother, was from a Russian-educated family and had big dreams of becoming an artist. Once upon a time, she wanted to be a singer and actress, but she had to put her dreams on hold to take care of Yul and his sister Vera. After the Red Army took over Vladivostok, Yul's mother stayed strong, even though the family lost most of their belongings, trying to make their house a warm place where love and devotion were always present. It was unstable in Yul's life from a very young age. In 1922, communists took most of the family's belongings, leaving them in an unstable position. They stayed in their once luxurious home, which was now only a shell of what it used to be. These changes not only affected their material lives, Yul felt pressured to protect the family's honor and live up to the standards that were put on him. Even when he was very young, Yul stood out as a child. Because of his mother, he developed a strong love for the arts. Yul was so interested in the sound of the guitar and the rhythms of Roma folk songs that he forgot to play his friends' games. Yul's sister Vera not only taught him music, but she also became his friend and helped him improve his artistic skills. He quickly became a great musician with Vera's help, and often played in Paris bars, which is a city full of art and culture. Yul's life wasn't just full of beautiful songs, though. Yul was left with deep emotional wounds when his father left the family to find love with someone else. Even though his mother tried to be tough, Yul's life was very empty without his father. He had to learn how to deal with mental pain from a very young age. This was hard for him, but it helped him become strong and resilient later on. After Yul's family moved to Paris, he had a new life that gave him more chances to follow his love for the arts. Paris wasn't just the city of lights, but also a place where he could act openly and figure out who he was. The years he spent in the center of Europe's arts city sparked his creativity and gave him a big goal to work toward. He played the guitar and sang Russian and Roma folk songs at his first show at the Hermitage Club when he was 14 years old. Not only was this performance the start of his work as an artist, but also a big turning point that made him even more determined to follow the road of art. But problems kept coming up in Yul's life. He hurt his back badly while training with the French circus troupe in the summer of 1936 when he was working as a lifeguard. He had been training to become an aerial artist. Because of this accident, he had to give up that dream and start taking painkillers. That marked the start of a bad time in his life. Yul became hooked on opium, and the pain it caused him in his body and mind led to what seemed like an endless inner fight. But Yul Brynner didn't give up in the face of these problems. He found his own way forward. He grew into a strong, tough man by going through great pain and loss, something that not only made his performing career stand out, but also throughout his troubled personal life and early work. Yul Brynner's life took another turn when he got sick. He found himself in the worlds of theater and movies. His time in Paris gave him the chance to meet many great artists, such as Jean Cocteau, who became a close friend and director. Cocteau saw Yul's promise and brought him into the exciting and dramatic world of theater. These meetings with the Parisian bohemian scene sparked a new passion in Yul. The stage became a place for him to express his strong feelings, which music alone could not fully do. In 1940, Yul chose to go with his mother to New York with her because she needed specialized medical care there. This trip wasn't just for family reasons. It also gave them a chance to see the whole Hollywood scene, a world Yul had never even thought of. From the moment he got to the U.S., he set out to learn. Yul took acting lessons from the famous Russian actor Michael Chekhov and learned how to explore himself. He worked on his voice and body language, which would later become his traits in his career. However, getting ahead was never simple. When he was young and living in New York, to make ends meet, Yul Brynner had to do a lot of hard work, like running a truck and working as a stagehand. The young man who really wanted to take over the world didn't let this stop him. Every day at work, he learned something new about himself, about theater, and about acting. He became very determined because of these tough times and never gave up when faced with a task. In 1941, Yul got a big break when he first saw him on Broadway in Twelfth Night by Shakespeare. Fabian, Yul's servant, made a big impact on the audience and directors, even though he only had a small part. This was because he was confident and dedicated. What's interesting is that Yul still had a strong Russian accent, and his English wasn't very good at the time, but he was driven to get better at language skills, and quickly learned English, which set them up for bigger roles in the future. But after Twelfth Night was over, World War II started, which was a different problem. A lot of chances to act on stage were briefly frozen. During this time, Yul looked for other work, and soon got a job as a reporter for Voice of America. He used his knowledge of French and Russian to tell people about the war. He kept up with the arts through this job, and it also helped him learn more about politics and culture, which he later used in his acting parts. Yul began his theater career in America, but it wasn't until 1946, when he played a part in the play Lute Song with actress Mary Martin, that his name became really well known. Yul's captivating personality, powerful acting skills, and deep, resonant voice made him a star. Yul won over fans and started to build a strong career in the entertainment business. Brynner impressed people with his unique look, a striking bald head, a deep, powerful voice, and a strong presence. King Moncut did more than play a part. It turned into a sign of Yul Brynner. He played this role 4,625 times on stage, including tours and revivals on Broadway. This is one of the longest-running shows in the history of the theater. He played the part again in the 1956 movie version of The King and I, and his great performance won him the Academy Award for Best Actor. This was Hollywood's way of recognizing a star who was born on the stage but could easily take over the big screen with his skill and charisma. After The King and I became a huge hit, Yul Brynner quickly became a name that people wanted to know. After the name change, he played the lead role in Cecil B. DeMille's big historical film, The Ten Commandments. Brynner and Charlton Heston both played Pharaoh Ramesses II, and their performance is one of the most famous in American movie history. His royal attitude and commanding presence made him look like a strong king, which cemented his position as a top star. In 1956, as well, Brynner was in the movie Anastasia with Ingrid Bergman. This part was another important one in his career, and both the movie and his performance got a lot of good reviews. Brynner showed that he wasn't limited to his roles as King Mundcut or Pharaoh Rameses. He was a versatile actor who could play a lot of different roles, from strong kings to smart, complicated people. Brynner's career kept going strong with more great movies. In 1960, he played the lead role in The Magnificent Seven, which was based on the popular Japanese movie Seven Samurai. At first, the movie didn't do very well in the U.S., but it was a huge hit in Europe, especially in the Soviet Union, where millions of tickets were sold, which showed he wasn't just a stage player, but also an action movie star. To add to his fame as an actor, Yul Brynner also made a big impact as a director and producer. In the 1940s and 1950s, he worked in television and made a big difference in the early days of the entertainment business. Even though he was most successful in theater and movies, Brynner was always looking for chances to show off his skills in a wide range of areas, from acting to artistic direction. Brynner started making science fantasy movies in the 1970s, which was a new turn in his career. In 1973's Westworld, he played a robotic gunslinger in a high-tech amusement park, which was his most famous part. This was one of his most memorable roles, and it helped the movie become a cult favorite, and giving Brynner new ways to work in the sci-fi field. He worked for many years, but Brynner never stayed in one place. He was always pushing himself by taking on new parts, from kings to characters with a lot of psychological depth. Not only was he a great actor, but he was also deeply committed to the arts and determined to reach the top of his field. In the end, Yul Brynner has made a name for himself in the history of movies and plays around the world, with famous roles and an impressive career. With parts like King Mundcut in The King and I, Pharaoh Ramesses in The Ten Commandments, and the gunslinger robot in Westworld, Brynner has left behind a body of work that will last forever. Yul Brynner's work was very successful, but his personal life was very complicated and sometimes rough. Brynner charmed the public and left an indelible mark on the women who were around him with his royal good looks and strong charisma. He was married 4 times, had a lot of dramatic relationships, and had many affairs with Hollywood stars.